Hello, guys.
Hey,
What's going on?
Dustin, how's it
How are you
going?
doing?
Welcome. It's been a while. We're
I
back.
know. Everybody feeling better, hopefully?
So much better. It kind of drug on for a bit.
Yeah, how
John
about
never got it.
That's wild.
I
You
just
guys
didn't
lived
think
together
that-
and he never got it. Wow.
Yeah. I kind of isolated, but the funny thing is, I think we were all exposed at the same place. But John had the booster, I did not.
hmm
My youngest daughter didn't have the booster, and she got it. And then my oldest daughter had the booster, and she didn't get it. So
So
crazy
weird.
stuff. I know. But we are back, and we got some fun guitar stuff, right?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. What you
Awesome.
been working on?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been working on some scale exercises that I put together.
Nice.
I'll save it for when everybody else gets here. But part of what I'm trying to get together. I know the scope of this class is more about putting a scale over a chord and hitting the target notes.
Mhm.
Kind of.
And
Yeah.
Well,
one of
it's
the
all
places,
aspects of improvisation. That's kind
yeah,
of
exactly. One of the places where I'm a little bit weak is like putting the architecture of a scale together on the fretboard. So like, I know all of the various modes,
Yes.
and I know them by finger patterns, but to
oh, but
employ
not
them
by
like in the moment, there's the next barrier I've got to get over. So
yeah. John and I have had lots of discussions about this.
Yes, we have.
But there's the position, but then there's also internalizing it.
the understanding, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So like understanding an Ionian mode is one thing, or I'm sorry, being able to, rip up and down an Ionian mode at speed is one thing, but understanding what the notes are and how they're functioning over the chords is a whole different beast.
Absolutely.
So okay, so think about this idea, and we can talk about it more like once people get here. But
Mhm.
like if you were to play a Lydian scale, right? And you wanted to pick one note that would really sort of characterize the sound of the Lydian scale, what would you pick?
Is that the flat sixth in the Lydian, or is it the flat fourth? I can never remember.
Well, it's sharp four actually.
Sharp four. Okay.
So play a Lydian scale from C, just one octave, anywhere on the fretboard.
Okay. So C Lydian.
It doesn't matter where you play it.
Yep. I'm just trying to remember the pattern for Lydian because I haven't.
Well, just start playing
Okay.
playing the major scale.
Also, good to check. Can you hear my guitar? Because I didn't want to get a feedback loop here.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
So C Lydian.
Good. Now do me a favor. Do just one octave. Good.
There it is.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. So now within that scale fingering, where's the sharp four?
Right here. Which
Okay.
is the now you got me thinking on my feet.
We're putting
It's
you
the
on
F sharp,
the
right?
spot.
F sharp and then
Yeah. Okay. So the point is, one thing that's really good to think about when you're improvising in a within a modal type of a setting, like if you're improvising in Lydian, then you want to be able to find immediately where the sharp four of the key is.
Mhm.
So if it's C Lydian, then you want to zero in on where the F sharp is.
Sure.
That's the
Okay,
most
and then
important.
kind of use that as a place to kind of head towards
Mhm.
if you want to convey to your listener that the sound the texture that you're trying to create is a Lydian sounding texture.
Okay. That
Because
makes perfect sense.
that one note is going to characterize Lydian more than other notes will.
Yeah, it's the defining tone of the Lydian mode, right?
Okay, yes. So if we were to ask the same question about Mixolydian, what pitch would that be?
The defining tone of Mixolydian is the
Yeah.
like if I'm in C Mixolydian,
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, flat four,
Well,
five.
well, it'd be flat
No,
seven, right?
no, flat seven. It's flat seven.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the point is, there's three major modes. There's Lydian, there's Ionian, there's Mixolydian.
Right.
So Lydian has the sharp 4 as a characteristic pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mixolydian, the
And
flat
Lydian has
7.
the flat 7, right? So in order to make something sound Ionian and not Lydian and not Mixolydian, you would have to play both natural 4 and natural 7.
Which is Ionian.
Right, that would make it Ionian. So
Yep.
now I want you to do something for me. So play a C Lydian scale, but take out the 4 and 7. Hi, Paul. Is that the same Paul Good that went to Berkeley with me?
It certainly is. How are you, John?
Oh my God!
Welcome.
Like, yeah, man. Like, welcome. Come on in. Your video isn't turned on yet. That's entirely up to you whether you want to do that or not. But
Oh, okay. I'll figure it out. I just turned it on.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so Ionian without 4 or 7.
Ionian without 4 and 7, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so
What does that
what's
sound
that?
That's pretty close to pentatonic, isn't it?
It is pentatonic, isn't it?
Okay.
7 minus 2.
Well, that's okay. So it's not
It's
minor
major
pentatonic.
pentatonic.
Major
though.
pentatonic.
And here's a flaw. I don't know if any of your other students have had that, but a flaw in my understanding, because it's like an easy crib notes trick. Every time I go to the major pentatonic, I go to the relative minor pentatonic and just position it. So like in a C, instead of,
It's the same.
I play the A minor starting on C.
Yeah. Yeah, well, A minor pentatonic and C major pentatonic is the same notes.
Yep.
The real
Exactly.
difference is how you're sort of phrasing it and framing it.
Sure. So this is something that's always tricked me up about modal playing.
Yes.
And maybe we can delve a little deeper into this today,
Yeah.
depending on what you want to get into. But, when you're looking at a progression and you're improvising over it, like, how do you reflexively know what modes to employ? Or is the progression's driving it, right? Because
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the chord progression that's going to be at the
Yeah.
core of it.
These are exactly the questions we wanted you to ask.
Yes.
well, great, because these are exactly the questions I've always wanted answered. So that's perfect.
With me.
Okay, so Dustin, I wanted to introduce you to Paul.
Paul, nice to meet you.
Paul and I went to Berkeley together many, many years ago.
Wow, cool.
Paul was the first guy I ever heard play. You probably even forgot that I went and saw him play in a cover band. One of the tunes they did was Ricky, Don't Lose That Number.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Paul played that solo. Or just give me. Right? You remember that solo?
I don't know when the last time I played it was, but I certainly know it. Certainly know it in my head.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
stood out to you.
Yeah.
I
So
love
yeah.
that
So
solo. That's a
Paul
cool
was the
one.
first guy I ever I heard him play it and was like, oh my God, it's E minor pentatonic. Then E major pentatonic.
Yeah.
So you remember that whole thing? So
Absolutely.
you were playing somewhere. I think it was in Stoughton. You were playing with maybe a high school, and you had a really good cover band that you were playing in at the time.
Yeah, I don't even remember which band it was, but I was always playing. And then I would come to see your bands. I remember you played around the Quincy area and maybe Weymouth, and I was like, this guy, he's unbelievable. That's the stuff. And I think we were both into Yes music at that time too, and Jeff Beck and all that happy stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, anyway, man, it's really.
Okay, wait, hold on. I gotta show this. I'm just gonna share this right here.
Yeah, hold on. Where is this? Go ahead.
Check this out right here, guys. Look at this. It's Steely Dan's number. I thought I'd lost it.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
I can't believe I got to do that.
I love it. I love the Trailer Park Boys one right next to it too.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with that show, but
Call nobody else.
there's an excellent clip from that show where they pretend to kidnap Alex Lifeson.
Oh my gosh.
I would say go on YouTube and look it up because
All
it's one of the most hilarious things you've ever seen.
Okay, we need to check that out for sure.
right.
And I'll just take this real quick opportunity to say, John, your story about Paul seeing you play and everything. You had a similar effect on me, even though it was over YouTube instead of live. I had never been exposed to the style of Chet Atkins before, and
Right.
I think you did a video of Sleigh Ride back in the day, like in Chet
Yeah.
Atkins style.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd ever seen thumb pick and fingers guitar, and I went right down that rabbit hole. So you're the guy who exposed me to the drug in that case.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
That's about all I remember.
Yeah, I can't. I work on it every year, and I can never remember the whole damn thing for more than a week. You know.
Do you have the music for it?
Yeah, your old website. I think the sheet music was on there, and I downloaded it. But
I did it for.
But I'll be honest with you. That tripped me right down the rabbit hole. I've been a massive Chet fan ever since. So
Oh, good.
thanks for that, Tom.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
No problem.
Look here, Jane Anderson is joining us. Oh, she can't hear.
So,
Hi, Jane. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, sure. I'm glad I could pop in.
Me too.
okay.
Doing
All right.
lots of fun stuff on the guitar.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and start? So, okay, I guess my first question for everybody is that, like, when you first pick up the guitar, you decided, okay, I'm going to practice for the next however long, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, 2 hours, whatever. What do you do first? The question kind of for everybody.
Good.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Well, I can tell you, because I've been playing forever, but I go through phases of the first thing that I play when I pick up the guitar, but I'll play that same thing for, it might be a couple of years. I don't know. It's just, just sort of a habit. You pick it up, you tune it up, and it's just the first thing my fingers go to. These days, it's I'm doing much more acoustic stuff. Actually, almost 100% acoustic stuff these days. My gigs are acoustic, and so I'm doing a lot of, like James Taylor and Tommy Emmanuel and Joe Robinson, that sort of stuff. And
So are you singing and playing and doing instrumental stuff in the middle of that, or are you?
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of funny. Most of my gigs I'm doing like restaurant type of gigs in nice restaurants, and
Right.
my first set is I usually play for an hour and a half, and more my first set is all instrumental things where I'm doing just tunes, pop tunes from Zeppelin to whatever, and I'm using a loop so I can play over it and kind of make it my own and all that sort of stuff. So so I do sing now. I never used to, but I'm just playing solo these days. So I'll do, and my voice is kind of it's a lighter voice anyway. So I sing sort of James Taylor stuff, Eagles, a lot of the classic stuff. So I'll do more musically interesting things, in the first set, and it's again all instrumental, and I get away with it, which is kind of cool. And then I'll sing the last set, and that's kind of what I do. So I think what my hands go to when I first start playing is like James Taylor stuff, just pretty James Taylor stuff. He's got some beautiful intros to a couple of things that they're just gorgeous stuff, and that's what I tend to do.
Man, James is amazing. Like,
he's so good. John, I used to, like you, we used to do copies of all the classics, the Yes and Steely Dan and all those sort of things. And I was always an electric player. Like, I never played acoustic. And about 10 years ago, I decided to I actually straightened up my life. I needed to. I quit drinking and put things in. Like, I always loved like walking through a restaurant and hearing somebody playing an acoustic guitar and singing, that sort of stuff. So I said, you know what, God damn it, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this point in my life. I'm going to do this. So I just kept singing and playing and singing and playing and singing and playing and finding a voice. And then I put enough together to put a night's worth of material. And then I just kept doing it. And that's what I do for a living now. It's actually pretty cool.
That's amazing.
People love hearing it.
Yeah, they do. And it's even the younger kids. Yeah, I think a lot of them, grew up listening to their parents' music, maybe, but you guys know so much of what goes on musically these days is, a lot of it doesn't even include guitar. Never mind, it's not, even if it does, it's not necessarily guitar music. So even kids that want to learn, they're going back to the classics because that's where all the guitar playing is. Right. I mean, most of it. Not that there isn't some good stuff going on these days, but
I have some young students that bring me songs, and I'm just kind of astounded. Wow, there is guitar in that. Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
or they just say, "Show me how to play this riff on the guitar." And
right.
Kind of satisfying. It's like, okay, you know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of a band called Polyphia?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely check it out.
Okay.
It's a bunch of young whippersnappers, and they're just playing their brains out.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really are. Like it's great
Inspiring.
material, and really clever arrangements. And it's like it's one of the first young bands I've heard in a long time that doesn't make me think back in my day. I just think,
Right.
wow, great.
Wow.
Spell that for me, John.
Huh?
Spell that the name.
So Polyphia.
PL. Oh, okay, got it.
Polyphia.
Jane put it in the chat for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good guitar music out there with younger bands in the same vein as Polyphia. I mean, Animals as leaders.
Yep.
It's a little heavier, and utilizing the 8-string guitars, but also a guy named Pliny.
Yeah.
Or stage name of Pliny. I'm sure you're familiar with him, John.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Really, really adventurous arrangements and great guitar music.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think Guthrie Govan has a new album.
Yeah,
and
Guthrie-
Joe Satriani
yeah.
has a new album.
Yeah. Guthrie
Guthrie
Govan.
has a new one out?
Yep, Satriani put one out. Yep.
Gotta love that.
Yeah. So anyway, so Dustin, what about you? So first thing, first couple of minutes you're practicing. What do you do?
So I'm an inveterate single note player. My weak spot is chords. So I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to play a scale, like we were just discussing before everything started. Or I'm going to go to, just like Paul said, the old favorites to warm up the fingers. One for me, I mean, Petrucci guitar, I always go to Glasgow Kiss. It's the first thing that I do.
Yep.
The cross-string arpeggio stuff, or a Steve Morris arpeggio, like well-dressed guitar. That kind of thing, just to warm the hands up. And then I'll get lost in whatever band that I'm in the current phase of trying to learn their music.
Yeah.
Or I'll just screw around until I come up with an interesting idea and have to record it. So
Okay. All right.
That's good.
So cool. That's really cool. Just because, sometimes I think that is kind of an important thing to think about. Sometimes it's like, what's the first thing you do when you pick up your instrument? So Jane, what about you? First thing you do when you pick up the instrument, what do you do?
I do a warm up. I do the just to. I start up at the at the 12th fret and work my way down, and then so I go through all that, and then I do like some O'Dares from Pumping Nylon.
love that book.
Just like a finger stretching kind of independent.
Nice.
So I go through that, and then I do some other finger independence exercises, with just back and forth with all the different finger combinations. So I do that as like a warm up, and then some scales. So that's sort of my warm up before I get into practice.
It's always good to have a warm up.
That's good, man. You're like way more organized than what I do. That's so cool. And Julie, what do you do?
Sometimes I just pick up the guitar and pick up what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Or if I hear something, like if we hear something on TV, we're like, what was that? And then we just pick up a guitar. We have them in every room, it seems like.
Yeah.
Or I've been writing a lot of songs lately, so I'll be, okay. Oh wait, I really like that flat 7 major 7. Let's hear what that sounds like. So I don't know. It's so random. Sometimes it's a warm up, sometimes a scale, sometimes it's specifically I'm gonna figure this out. Or,
Yeah.
What about you?
So for me,
You've been working on Wozzeck.
yeah. Well, lately I've been working on. I'm playing a couple of concerts with Boston Symphony Orchestra later this month, or early March, and I'm playing guitar parts in this opera called Wozzeck, which was written by Alvin Berg, and it's the music is all sort of atonal, and sort of in that Schoenberg modern classical kind of thing. So it's the music is just really difficult. Hard to hear, hard to play, hard to keep track of. Everything about it is hard. So I've just been kind of racking my brains with that. But as a player, one of the things that I really want to be able to do is hear the sound in my head and be able to find it on my instrument without any obstacles. Mm-hmm. And more important than that is developing the ability to kind of really play what I'm hearing in my head, not what my fingers would default to by just out of finger habit. Shapes. Which is with like in other words, I don't want to default to shapes, which I probably do that more than I'm willing to admit. But so to that end, I'm always looking at finger exercises that either help me develop some kind of facility on the instrument, or encourages me to think about some different things. So one thing I'll do sometimes is I'll pick a chord. A deliberately difficult chord, and then just see how many different ways I can play that chord.
Oh, that's nice.
So, so for example, like pick a key for me. E. Okay, now pick a chord, really difficult chord.
Well, G sharp minor 11.
G sharp minor 11.
That's not very difficult. But I like.
Okay, so if it's G sharp minor 7. Then it would be that, then, okay.
You can find the inversion.
Okay, then. I'm going to just look for a bunch of different inversions in that key for a few minutes, just to see how long it takes me to get there. And it's not something that I necessarily want to be able to memorize, but I want to be able to learn how to think through it reasonably quickly, because
then you can go to it.
Well,
during your improv.
if I'm improvising, it's just kind of a little bit more in my radar. So it's one of those things that helps over the long period of time. Other than that, I might just kind of pick a chord and then just try to play things that sound good with that chord. Might be play a G chord, right? But play something that sounds good with G, but don't play G. what's cool about that is that in order for me to avoid it, I have to know where it is.
Yeah.
Because what
You
just
wanna know
happened
where
just
it
then
is.
was that, like, if you watch the thing again, you'll realize that I actually hit G a few times accidentally. You know,
'Cause of
but
shapes.
yeah, but well, it's just because I'm just kind of flipping through a bunch of things. Hey, how you doing? So
Who's that?
I think that might be that's young Paul.
Young Paul.
Um, so I mean, things like that I find useful. Sometimes
Should we
I'll
do
get
a
on
warm-up?
YouTube. Huh?
Should we do a warm-up? You have lots of them on your site.
Well, no. You know what? Let's get
Let's
back.
get into our
let's get into the
Ionian
thing.
thing. Does anyone have any questions on anything we've talked about over the last few sessions? We've had 3, or not that many.
Well,
I've tested everything on the page. If you need it.
before we dive into anything and any questions, John, I'll just make one observation about what you just said. I mean, you're kind of hitting on exactly something that I struggle with, which is, being I don't want to say a speed player, but being inspired by shredder guys. I find myself regurgitating repeated patterns that are internalized
Right.
and not so much actually thinking my way through chord scale relationships, like I said earlier. So one of the things that I've been trying to do to improve lately is break out of the patterns, the learned patterns, and apply musicianship to the instrument as opposed to robotic playing, if that makes sense, or
Very good.
repeated patterns. I don't know how better to articulate it than that, but it's exactly what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
I love that exercise of taking like a chord and then just trying to, play something that works over it without playing the root, and
Right.
engages you in thinking about the theory behind what you're doing as opposed to just playing,
Yeah, and there's a lot of variations on that game too. Another variation of the game is do the same thing, and you can play anything you want except on beat 1. So if Julie was going to play like a rhythm part,
1, 2, 3,
okay. Now if I do that too long, that thing is gonna wear itself out.
You want to get really good at that.
But at the same time, it's the basic idea is that if you think in a particular way, that way of thinking is going to get you a particular sound. Okay, so another variation of that is you can do anything you want, just don't use the B string. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Right?
Sweet.
I mean, if you're looking for ways to get out of your own finger habits, do things like that. Just like,
It's hard.
yeah, just it's
Skipping that beat.
yeah, it's a bit like like taking a stick and putting it in some poor kid's bicycle spokes as he goes by.
That's what it feels like. Whoa! Because you're okay down here.
Yeah. Yeah, and the basic idea is going to force you to do something you wouldn't ordinarily do.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. So okay, so we have a backing track that we'd like to present.
Drum roll, please. But you probably already got it.
1, 2. Okay.
Oh,
So
here we
do you
go.
guys have the backing track?
It's on the Guitar Club page. I will
Do you
put the
want-
link.
Do you want to put it in the chat?
I sure will. Oh, hey, John Rice. There's a wave. Welcome to Guitar Club. I hope you're having a nice evening.
Oh, how cool.
All right. I am going to find it. Oh, here it is. All right. So all of our materials we've just kept on this page. If you'd like to sign up for the newsletter, go ahead.
Hey, John and Julie, I got to jump. But
Okay.
it was nice to see you both. And I'm going to try to jump in again next Monday. Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
we
that'd
don't
be
do
good.
it every week, but we will.
Oh, you
If you sign up for the club, I'll send out an email in advance.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We'll be doing it roughly, roughly once a month.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, send me. Let's I need to get a phone number for you at some point. We're gonna connect. That'd be
Okay.
great.
I'll send it to you. I get you on Facebook. I'll send you the number.
Perfect.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for
All right, I'll
hanging
see ya.
with us.
Nice to meet you, Paul.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. You too. Bye.
Right. Bye.
Alrighty.
Okay. So, okay, yeah. There's the link to the to the guitar club.
Yep, I
And
put it
inside
on
of
YouTube
that, yeah.
as well. I will put it on the description of the video if you're watching this and it's not February 21st.
Okay. So, do you guys have the backing track? Dustin, do you have it?
Do
Okay.
you want to download it?
Jane, do you have it?
There's also Sheet.
Okay. And there's also a licks sheet.
Mhm.
Okay. So, this material essentially comes from a course that I wrote a little while ago called 30 melodic modal licks 30 melodic modal licks you must know.
You
And,
must know.
Yeah, so that's kind of true fire marketing. So what I did was I wrote 6 chord progressions, one for Lydian, one for Ionian, one for Mixolydian, one for Dorian, Aeolian, and Phrygian. But I didn't really bother with Locrian too much, just because it's really hard to get Locrian to sound like like a minor 7 flat 5, making it sound like it's a 1 chord.
Mhm.
So I just kind of decided, you know what, it's a little bit too much of an academic exercise to make that sound convincing, so I'm just not going to. So now when I put the course together, I did it because TrueFire asked me to do it, and I didn't want to do it because I've the whole concept of licks was something I've never really liked. But I did agree to doing the course, so I just kind of said, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So I wrote the chord progression, and then I wrote, for Ionian, as you see here, I wrote 5 licks. Okay.
They're
and
nice, I must say.
It was kind of interesting because what it kind of forced me to do was to first write the chord progression so that it would sound Ionian, and then the second thing was to write a bunch of licks that would fit with the chord progression. And noodling with it was fairly easy. What was hard was to pick something and really commit to, this is a lick, right? But once I committed to it and started notating it and started putting it together so I could play it in the course, I really did find that it really helped me sort of expand my vocabulary. So I'm going to say,
your friends?
yeah, huh?
They became your friends?
They became my friends, yeah. So what I would say is, learn the licks, see if they do anything for you, but also equally important, write your own licks, write your own chord progressions, or write your own licks for your own chord progressions. So I think it's the workflow that I want to demonstrate as much as the information itself. So the chord progression itself, the way I set it up was, first it's C Ionian, then it goes to E Ionian, then it goes to A Ionian. Now Ionian is just, synonymous
scale.
with major. So, so C major, E major, and then A major. So for C major and E major, it's essentially the same chord progression. So for C, it's C chord, then D minor with C in the bass, E minor with C in the bass, D minor with C in the bass. And the same thing 3 more times. So this is all key of C.
E.
And then now it's E.
1,
Whoops.
Is
2.
there a drum fill?
Huh?
Is there a drum fill for when the
Yeah,
E
there's a
comes?
drum fill that takes you into the key of A.
So you'll be able to know when
Yeah.
it's coming.
There's key of E, same thing. The E, then A, C sharp minor, sharp minor, B minor, E.
So fun and happy.
Back to C. Okay, so then that whole thing, that whole process just gets repeated.
Yep. So
So-
each time the key changes, you just switch to a new Ionian.
Yeah. So improvising over it, you're basically playing from the key of C major for 16 measures, key of E major for 16 measures, and the key of A major for 32 measures, twice as long. Okay. So
Do you want to talk about the licks? Do you want to play them through one time so
Do you
they're
want-
on the video?
Yeah. Okay. So you want to hear the licks?
Sure.
All right. So here's
John
the.
has some fun licks.
All right.
1,
So
2,
here's the C.
1,
wait,
2, 3.
Okay. So this first one's called "Walk in the Park."
1, 2, 1,
The key
2,
of C.
3.
Okay, so that's key of C. All right, so basically the way that works is it's essentially just based on C major pentatonic for the most part, right? But then there's a couple of unusual slides
Yeah.
and bends. Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So then the E one.
1,
There you go. Ah. And now, okay, one little thing I want to mention is that the tablature in example 7, seashore, isn't 100% accurate. So it's 12, 11, and then 12 on the second string instead of 7. Okay? Then instead of 7 on the second string, it's 11 on the third string. Okay? Then the rest of it's accurate.
No. Oh yeah, that's right.
It's funny, John. I think that's actually a great exercise for players to get into as well, because inaccurate tablature can sometimes be the best teacher because it forces you to think about where things can be played on the fretboard.
That's true.
There's a notorious example among Dream Theater fans. It's the Train of Thought tablature book. Is the notes are accurate, the tab is not.
Right.
And luckily we have, I've talked with some other players about this. If you look at some of those songs and watch a video of John Petrucci playing them, sorry, I know I keep bringing him up, but
No, it's fine. It's
that's
Why
kind of the
not?
background.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I know, right? I mean, we all have the people we're fans of, but I have spent numerous hours watching like a video of him playing live in concert, seeing where his hands are when he's playing a certain thing,
Yeah.
and then using that as a learning moment where I know what the notes are. how is he getting it in that space on the fretboard when I think he's up here and he's actually down here?
Right.
You know
Very,
Right.
very important.
Well, in this
Yeah.
case, this happened simply because it really has to do with the fact that, like, when I notate something, I usually don't think very much about where it is. I think more about the pitch.
Okay.
The tab is like
and
for
then-
other people.
Yeah, and then the tablature is always. I always have a much harder time laying out the tablature because it's always an afterthought for me.
Right, because you're thinking in terms of the actual note and the actual.
And you
Yeah.
know where you play it already.
Yes. Yeah. So what starts to happen is you know, like typos like that will come up all over the place for exactly that reason. You know, like, I don't know if you've ever tried to publish anything like that, but like what happens is the most glaring mistake, you start missing them because you've just been looking at it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know you then. Or maybe you had done it.
Yeah. You were with me when I tracked these.
I was there when you tracked them, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't with me when I wrote it. That's true.
So before we get to the next one, John, one further question, because you say you're thinking about the tonality and the notes and not necessarily the tablature.
Yeah.
I find that, like, if I'm playing a note in the same octave in a different space on the fretboard, that I can hear the difference in the tonality based on the
Oh, the octave?
whether it's on the high E string or if I'm playing that same note in that same octave on the G string, for example. Like,
Sure.
there's a subtle but noticeable difference to me.
Absolutely.
You're thinking about that too when you're playing, or okay?
Well,
When you're improvising, you do.
Not necessarily when you're improvising, but when you're composing or something like that.
actually, I think about it when I'm improvising and when I'm composing, actually, because you know, because especially if you're a rock guitar player, a lot of it is about the way the note sounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if I do this, right, that's a different sound than.
Exactly.
So this. It might be roughly the same notes.
But it's totally different in terms of the tone of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Totally.
So you're right. I do think about that a lot, but
Okay.
I guess when I'm notating it, I'm thinking about the relationship of the notes and the chords.
Yes.
You know, and my conscious thought process is really much more about the notes than it is where I'm playing it.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But another exercise to do over the backing track would be to just play the scales, and you can play them in numerous locations.
Yeah.
You know, you could start singing or a higher octave, or up at the 10th fret. You know, maybe experiment with just the Ionian sound
Yeah.
all over.
One
And then
one
learn
of the
the licks.
what was that, Julie?
Oh,
I'm
and
sorry.
then learn the licks, even though John doesn't like composing licks.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say one of the exercises that I like to do in terms of mapping out the fretboard is to take the first 6 notes of whatever mode you're working with, say C Ionian, find a position on the fretboard, and I'll play the first 6, and then jump up to the root an octave higher,
Yes, that's great.
you know, and go through that, and then try to fill in, you know, depending on what mode that I'm playing, that 7th note, and try to find pathways up and down the scale within the architecture of those octave jumps.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what I would also add to that, maybe a good thing to do is to also add to what Julie was saying. It was, you know, like if the
One,
first thing is
two,
in C, right?
1, 2,
You know,
3.
what she's saying is. Right, but what I was also going to add to that might be also, as you practice those scales, work on being able to find your way into the scale in other places other than the root.
Mm.
You know,
Start
which
on the third.
yeah, start on the
fifth.
third of the chord.
Or the fifth,
Right.
or
One,
Or the
whatever.
fifth, right?
two,
So if I start on the
one,
third,
2, 3.
now the key of E, right?
Maybe find a particular note that you want to go to and just play that over the backing track.
Or
Just
or
let's
use
play the thirds on every Ionian.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I appreciate you saying that, John, because that's great. Actually, just hearing you do that right now, starting on the third instead of on the first, for,
Yeah.
the tonic, it's great because that just kind of clicked for me how non-obvious that is,
Right.
And I never even realized this until just discussing this with you. But I'm always starting on the root of the chord, and it's a totally different sound. That's great. I got to
This
practice
is
the hell
where
out of that.
It would be the Phrygian shape.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound Phrygian at all because we've got the Ionian chords underneath.
What do you
Yeah,
mean by
that's
that? By the
Well,
Phrygian
if
shape?
you start on Ionian is the C, but if you
Mhm.
start on E Phrygian shape, you're starting on the third of the
Right.
key, but the shape will be Phrygian if you've learned all those shapes. But it's
Okay.
still an Ionian because the chords are Ionian.
I was just
Why some
thinking.
people are like, oh wait, why doesn't it sound Phrygian?
Right.
Because
No,
it's Ionian chords. You know what I mean? So
That's funny because I was just thinking like of using the Ionian shape and starting on the third.
yeah,
But
well that's
now,
exactly the same thing.
yeah,
Except if your first finger is on the third degree.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Ah,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so exactly. So if I
One,
go ahead.
2,
Wanna do it.
What if I
1,
do-
2,
oh, yeah.
3.
G sharp.
Yeah.
C sharp. Right? Is that right?
So
I was just playing those shapes that I'd learned long, long ago. The
Yeah.
Phrygian shape, you know?
Yep.
It's got the root and the flat two.
so the thing about this, so the lesson you take from this is that it's not the fingering that makes something sound in a certain mode.
right. It's the harmony around the notes, right?
That's right. Right. So you know the terminology that I've always used is if I'm referring to an Ionian fingering, I'm referring to the fingering, not the scale.
Okay.
Referring to Ionian sound, then I'm referring to the sound, not the fingering.
Right, because the Ionian fingering can be Mixolydian with the right harmony behind it. You know,
Well, the Ionian fingering is always the Ionian fingering.
It's still
Right,
those same
right.
8 notes.
but the sound.
Right.
I see the
So-
distinction you're
It's
making.
kind of nice to do it on one string where you use it as a pedal. That's
Yeah.
Ionian. And Dorian has the flat 3, flat, the natural 6. So
Yeah.
I'm just playing the E, but you know, each time the key is changing when you,
Yep.
you know.
I'm writing that down right now because I've encountered that idea before, but I love that idea.
I actually have a worksheet if you want me to send it out, I think.
Yeah, that would be wonderful if you have that.
I think I have just modes on each string.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll put it up there for you.
Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate that.
Sure. But it's such a wonderful thing because then you actually see what's changing in each scale.
Well, and on top of seeing
Okay,
what
instead of the
notes,
third- Yeah, yeah.
sorry, I apologize. I think it's the
Oh, no.
delay on Zoom. Every time we've done this, I've like talked over you, and I apologize.
Oh,
It's-
it's fine.
On top of seeing the change in the notes, I think it's internalizing the sound too as you're playing through each one of those.
Well,
and
that's
this-
yeah. That's the main thing is, you know, knowing what the sound of the scale should be.
Yeah.
And I think so often, I don't know if you've encountered this, John, but so often when a young and inexperienced or learning player is encountering the modes, they're so confusingly taught by so many people. Sometimes the subjectivities of the scale and the chord relationships, it took me a long time to really understand what the heck was happening with modal playing.
You can just drop that in the chat, that file right in the chat. Actually.
I don't think I can unless
Yeah,
I
I
have
think
it up
you
on my
can.
drive. Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
Okay, let me
if
try.
you bring it up in the, I think if you just bring it up in your finder.
Oh, look. My computer. This is new. What's that? This has never been able to happen to me before.
Oh,
What's
cool.
that?
I can actually put files in the chat.
Oh.
What did I call it? Oh, E-modes. Okay, here it is.
Huh.
Okay, let's see. There it is! Oh
There it
my
is.
gosh, I just put it in the chat. I don't know how excited I am.
That's awesome.
So crazy.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. And for you at home, oh, hi, Mr. Snicket. I love your little wave there. Welcome. I'm going to be adding a cool PDF to the John and Julie's Guitar Club
Yeah.
page for a resource. It's basically just all the modes on the E string.
Yep.
And you can play it on the low E or the high E.
Do you want to give us a quick demonstration?
Sure.
All right.
I'll share it right here. But it's basically what I just did.
Yeah.
So I also put the key. Okay. Okay, then E Dorian. E Phrygian. E Lydian. E Mixolydian. E Aeolian. And E Locrian. Should we skip it? No, just kidding. Everything flat.
Yeah. So look. Yeah. Look.
Yeah.
So
I was just gonna.
go ahead.
No, you first, John.
So Locrian is like the crazy uncle that only comes to Thanksgiving to dinner.
It's very
that
important
nobody-
to have, though.
Yep. Yeah, the crazy uncle that gets drunk and starts arguing with everybody at Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, I was just going to ask, have you
The
guys
one
ever
that
used?
ruins it every year.
Yep. Do you ever use the Locrian mode? Because I mean, I do not use diminished chords all that often myself, and I always find myself gravitating toward like a sound where I'm gonna get this wrong theoretically, but I'm instead of playing a diminished chord on the seven, I'm playing a borrowed chord of like a flat seven.
I
You know
love
the
minor
theoretical
seven
thing
flat
I'm
five
talking
though.
about, and I'm not gonna get it right. So
Minor
Is it-
7 flat 5 is so cool though, and
it
useful.
is. I just have never been good at playing. I've never figured out how to play over it.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
we should do a Locrian backing track.
well,
Just kidding.
honestly, most of the time when I'm playing over a minor 7 flat 5, I'm usually using the melodic minor equivalent of that, which would be Aeolian flat 5, or Locrian natural 2 if you want to think of it that way.
Okay.
And it's mostly just has to do with the way it sounds. If I'm using minor 7 flat 5 in a key in a chord progression, it's usually to sort of imply in almost a jazz setting where you go 2 minor 7 flat 5, 5 7 with a flat 9, going to a minor chord or sometimes. So this is minor 7 flat 5, dominant 7 flat 9, minor. So these two chords, that's sort of your setup for that. And they just oh.
I'm sorry. We're going off on a totally.
Yeah, she's messing
Okay.
with me.
We've been far away from Ionian the last few minutes.
Yeah.
That's
So-
okay. This is our club. We can talk about whatever we want.
That's right.
It's always fun to have just little random jumping off points.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all in the same vein.
Yeah. So you want to go back to the E Ionian? Do we have time?
Yeah, let's go back.
Okay.
Oh, well, 3 minutes, but
Yeah.
we would like to jam on the track to demonstrate. Do you want to share this? Should I share the licks? Or yeah,
Okay.
this
So
has
the
the chord
so the,
progression
so the
on it.
second one, this is over the E chord.
Oh yeah, we never went through all the
Yeah.
licks.
So this one. Yeah, we did go over that.
Okay.
Okay. Then example 8.
This one's really cool.
Well, one of the things that I've learned from putting together guitar courses, you have to have at least a couple of licks that are almost too hard to play, because otherwise,
We'll play it slow. I want to play too.
so this one is just hard for the sake of being hard, but it actually sounds kind of nice.
I want to play it too.
Okay, you want to play it? All right.
Together.
Whoops.
Sorry, we can't hear a thing.
Yeah, hold on. Our headphone cable came undone.
We'll play it together. Turn this up.
Yeah. So ready?
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
I messed it up already.
2, 3, and.
I messed it all up.
1, 2.
I love it.
Okay, I'm gonna try it by myself.
Yeah.
One more time. 3, 4. I did that wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. This is a good one.
Yeah. So
I highly recommend it.
the way I think I like to use these is to
One,
kind
two.
of plug the licks in, and then use them as jumping points for improvisation. So if I was to do it literally,
1, 2, 1, 2,
Here's the first
3.
one.
Sorry about that. I kicked up.
All right. That's all right.
Yeah. So
That's great, John.
Thank you. Thank you. You want to try it?
Sure.
Okay. So
I'll play it.
So
I didn't learn all of John's licks. I'm gonna do my own.
yeah, but part of what I wanted, but I think what's cool is to kind of hear what Julie would do with the same ideas. You know, because they're not going to be the same as what I do, and you know, anytime you have more ideas floating around, that's always good.
You'll tell me when the key change, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys want to look at that while we're going? Or
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
you'll
All
have
right,
to
you ready?
move it when.
I'll scroll.
1, 2,
Here's
1,
C.
2, 3.
Dustin, do you have a way to play the backing tracks?
Thank you.
Improvise over it?
I'm actually not sure. So the way that I've got it set up is with Zoom here. I'm hearing the backing track on your side, and I have the microphone picking up my guitar speaker, which is slightly away from my computer. I'm not sure if there'd be a delay if you were to play the track and I'd be able to play over it.
What you can do is
Or you can play it on your side.
if you can play it through
Yeah.
another device. If you just go to julifin.com and to the Guitar Club, then you'll be able to play it on an iPad or an iPhone or any phone, and then
Yeah.
play along with yourself. Then we'll hear it.
Or if you,
Back at the same time.
if maybe you could just play through the speakers on your computer.
I could try to do that.
Yeah.
Certainly. Just
Jane, what about you?
Oh yeah, John, Jane, you want to play over it?
Whoops. No, that's okay. I'm just taking it all in.
All right,
But thank you.
sure.
So
Do you have
bear
any
with.
questions about anything?
What's that?
I was asking Jane if she had any questions about anything so far.
No, not really. No, it's
If you do, please don't be afraid to ask. If you don't, you're welcome to just kind of hang and take it all. I get that too, because sometimes, like I get it. Everybody learns differently.
All right, I'm going to try to open the backing track here, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it or not, because I'm not sure if it's the audio output here of my computer is going to go into Zoom. Hold on one second.
Well, the basic idea is you just play it through your speakers, and the microphone in the room just picks it up.
Yeah.
Now, the only suggestion I have is make sure that you have original sound turned on
Zoom, right?
on Zoom. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just give this a go and see if it works.
Okay.
Yeah,
Play for about 15 seconds and then check in.
let me just check my Zoom settings real quickly here and make sure I have original sound turned on. I know we've talked about this before. Where do we find
If you
oh,
just
it's up
click
in the
on.
left-hand corner. There we go.
Yeah.
And original sound is on. All right.
Good.
So you can hear the
I
guitar
can hear the
here?
guitar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if you can hear the backing track when I play it.
2, 1,
Can
2,
you hear that?
3.
Yeah. You need to turn your guitar up a little.
Okay.
Now we're on E.
Are we back in C on this? We're in
Now
C
we're
on
back
Still in
to
A.
C. Oh, we're in
Still
A.
in?
Yeah.
A is a long one. Yay!
Lucky landing on that one.
Nice work.
Yeah. So
I have to
You
delete
never
that
played
one.
through it before.
1,
so the thing about this
1,
is
2,
Oh,
3.
sorry.
Starting again.
So could you hear everything? Like you hear the
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll
Cool.
be able to watch.
yeah, it sounds
Cool.
fine.
It's a tiny bit muffled, but I think that we could definitely hear the two parts. So that's
Sure.
yeah.
So I mean so the biggest thing with that
Mhm.
is I mean the way I like to think of it in my head, right, is that if I'm playing baseball and I'm playing right field, okay, and it's late in the game, the bases are loaded, and the slugger of the opposing team hits a grounder to me. Okay, there's a lot of things I have to think about. I can't but my main job is to go get the ball and then throw it as hard as I can.
Sure.
Right, but I can't just pick up the ball and throw it anywhere. I have to think about where it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and now somebody who does that task really well is going to go ass over tea kettle to go get the ball, right? And then before they're even stood up, they've thrown the ball, and it's going to land in the catcher's glove before the runner gets there, right? And that's
But they
when
need
it
to know,
feels.
is it first or second or third? Where do I?
But the point is when he's rolling ass over tea kettle down the field trying to get the ball, he's already made the decision that he's going to throw the ball to home.
Because you
Okay.
visualize.
And he's visualizing I'm throwing the ball to home. And he's already made that decision before before the ball has left his hands.
That makes-
Sure.
So so we're in the middle of like kind of running around the fretboard. That's kind of how you have to think about it. Is that like I'm throwing the ball to home. So even though I'm
Make
doing
a
this
decision
now,
beforehand.
what's the thing I want to land on?
Where am I heading towards? Yeah.
Yes, and so in this particular case, that's one of the reasons why the chord progression is a little bit asymmetrical, which is the key of the key of C is 16 measures, key of E is 16 measures, but the key of A is 32 measures.
Yep.
Throws
Okay.
us off a little bit.
So it's kind of deliberately different lengths to get you to think about, well, how long do I have in this particular key?
Right, and you're switching between those keys. That's and this is obviously a practice that I like smiling because I need to do this a little bit more. But that's where I get tripped up in this is trying to hear the harmony around me, trying to think about what I'm playing, and also trying to think about what scales are available to me as I'm doing that. So you probably noticed, John, when I'm doing the C, I'm immediately, when we're on C, I'm immediately falling into this Ionian shape.
Yes.
And then when it went to A, I believe I immediately fell into the, as we talked about earlier, the relative minor pentatonic shape.
Yes.
And this is a lot of fun to do because now I'm thinking to myself, what other, jamming over this track, I'm going to try to figure out what other shapes are available to me in order to play. Like when I'm thinking I'm in home base is A,
Right.
what else can I do other than go to my standard, go to,
Right, and that's partly why writing the licks is useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are a specific amount of measures.
Yeah, like when you write a lick, you're basically saying, you're basically saying, I'm going to commit to playing this musical phrase over this amount of measures over these chords.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you're you're really literally just writing a different melody, and you practice jumping into it, playing it as is, and then jumping out of it, and then practicing playing variations of it. Now, to me, the real value of writing that lick, right? So that first lick is.
But
Right.
you go from each chord too. You can be real methodical about, on this chord I'm going to go to this note, and this chord I'm going to do these notes.
Right.
And I love that because otherwise I'm just going to stay in my same shapes.
Right. Now, in this particular instance, what I can do is I can play the equivalent of 4 of those, and that's going to give me the length that I need for the key of C.
So you play it a little bit different each time.
Right, and then there's 4 more for the key of E, right? And then I have to do, and then 8 for the key of A, right? So listen what happens if I approach it this way, right?
Do you want me to put the
Next. Okay.
One,
So here's
two, 1, 2, 3.
one. Okay.
So start with the licks, maybe.
Well, thank you. So
That was nice.
So in that particular case, I was way more methodical than I normally would be. But what I was doing was playing 4 licks in the key of C, 4 licks in the key of E, and then 4 8-bar licks in the key of A. Right.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a part of it like anything, you can take it too far and be too methodical.
Sure.
There's also that. So that's the cautionary component of it. But
I like the approach that you're articulating here, which is, and forgive me if I'm not getting this quite right, but I like the idea of coming up with a theme that you're playing through.
Yeah.
And then doing variations on that theme basically 4 times, and then variations on the next theme 4 times, permutations of it.
Yes. Well, that's where writing the licks becomes useful.
Mm-hmm. Because
once you write the lick and you commit to it, then you can say, okay, I'm going to use that as a seed for permutations.
Mm-hmm.
If I choose, I want to do that. And if I do that, then my playing's going to take on more of a thematic kind of a quality to it.
Right. No, that's great. That's an approach that I would have thought about variations on a theme, but not employing it in that way over a progression. So
yeah,
that's a great idea.
Oh, we got Ionian.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right. So listen, please tell all your friends. We're going to try to make this a regular thing, like once a month. And we'll do more things. We'll do more things like this. What do you think of this approach? I've got tons more material like this. So I was thinking maybe next time we could do Lydian.
Oh, I love Lydian.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Want to do that?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the approach is great. I got a tremendous amount out of this tonight, guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
Really appreciate it. The only small request that I will make is when the proper mode is being discussed. One of my favorite tunes of yours, John, is "Putting Down the Torch." And I've just never sat down and taken the time to figure out those arpeggios or the lead lines. So maybe use that as an example at some point, because I'd love to break that down and figure out the theory behind it.
I can tell you right where those arpeggios are right now if you want to. Sure. So the chord progression is C sharp minor, A, E, B.
Oh, okay.
So, so the arpeggios are what I would call open voiced arpeggios.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have some wide intervallic jumps going on there, right?
Yes. So all I'm doing is I'm playing every other note in the arpeggio. If it's C sharp minor, play C sharp minor.
4.
Just play the C sharp minor chord. So then A, then E, then B, then C sharp minor, A, E, B. So do it slowly. 3, 4. And.
Sorry, it was a little
Yeah.
Did you say B at the end there?
Yes.
Okay, B major. Okay.
Yeah.
Want to do it one more
So-
time?
Yeah. So 3, 4. C sharp minor. A. E. B. C sharp minor. A. B. E. B. C sharp minor. E. B. Okay, and then the next chord section. Right, so C, B, E. That make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so,
Very cool.
yeah, you're welcome. I actually have Tablature for that. So if you send me an email to jfan@berkeley.edu, I will send that to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate that, John.
Generous.
Yeah.
He's so smart.
Yeah, I'd love to hear you
Nice.
play it, actually. That's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, it's one of mine too. Like when we started doing this, I told you that I listened to your albums and love some of your music, but that one's always stuck with me. That's always been a standout, and
A good one.
always love that one. Very lyrical. So, when you're doing the melody over those chords, are you thinking in? And I'm sorry if this is maybe more of a rote question, but are you thinking in terms of are you playing a certain mode, or are you just following the harmony of the chords with each mode?
Well, okay, so in the main melody section,
Mhm.
when I wrote the tune, kind of what I was thinking about was I wanted the chords in the first part of the song to more or less be kind of descending.
Mhm.
Okay, and then
Like with the descending bass line, you mean, or just
well,
descending?
sort of, just generally going down. So.
Okay.
Da, 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 da.
Right.
Da, 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 da,
That's minor 7 flat 5, by the way.
yeah, right. Then a minor 6, then the chorus. Okay, so the melody, it just kind of follows those chords.
Landing on chord tones at
Yeah.
each chord change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did
Yeah.
the progression come first, or did the melody come first, and then you harmonized?
Kind of both.
Okay. They kind of arrived together.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was writing it, I was kind of humming. Da 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 da.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, that's beautiful, because like that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like you're playing the chords, you're humming or singing the melody, so it's the musicianship, the melody and the chord relationship, as opposed to I have this pattern on the guitar that's inspired me to compose something. And I know both approaches are valid, but that's
yeah.
but
Well,
that goes, yeah.
Well, in the case of that particular one, there was like a certain mood that I was trying to get that I was trying to sort of create with it. You know, the phrase "putting down the torch" is basically, you know, that moment, like if you'd been carrying the torch for somebody,
Yeah.
and then you sort of decide, oh, you know what, this isn't good for me anymore. I gotta let go of this.
That
You know,
universal human experience that we've all been through.
yes. So, you know, so at first you're sad. But then later you sort of realize that, hey, you know what? I'm free of it now, and I feel better. And things are going to be okay, and I feel optimistic about the future. So that's kind of the story that the song attempts to tell.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I would not have picked up on that story in those exact words.
Right.
But as you're saying that, and I'm thinking about the not morose, but like the sad part of the song in the verses, and then the joy in the choruses. I mean, that's exactly
Let it
what
go.
attracted me to that song. Is that you have this, you know, this very not somber. I don't know the right word. Not somber.
Yeah,
Not morose,
yeah.
but melancholy.
Melancholy.
Yeah.
And then the chorus comes in, and it's just this beautiful joy in those arpeggios.
Yeah.
Um,
Dancing.
But also like the end part that goes.
Oh yeah. Major sevens.
right when you're at the end of the song, where you're kind of
Yeah.
yep. What do I want to say? You're kind of breaking out a little bit on the lead track, soloing, like not necessarily outside, but just like putting a little more gas in the tank, so to speak.
Yeah. Celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and you know, when I tracked that tune, I learned a lot when I tracked it. What I ended up doing was I'd done a bunch of takes and sort of comped together from all these different outtakes. You know, it's like I took this lick from this take, this lick from this take, this lick, and sort of pieced everything together.
Made a composite arrangement.
Composite of everything I liked, and then when I listened back to it, it was right, but it left me kind of cold. So what I ended up doing is I went back and just learned how to play what I had composited, and then performed that, and that's what's on the record.
Right. So what's on the record is actually a single take, but you had to go through the process of improvising, taking the building blocks, putting it together, relearning it, and then I totally get that because I used to work in a recording studio and I would do that stuff all the time. And you know, there's something to be said for spontaneity. But if you have composited this thing and you're not, and it doesn't flow quite right,
Right.
yeah, that's great that you went back and relearned it and then you know, performed it and probably stretched out a little bit and on it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. All right.
No, thanks for running that down for me, John.
Oh, hey, no problem. Yeah, anything like that, I'm happy to help.
Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. And thank you for asking, actually. Okay, so do we want to decide on a date now, or do we want to?
Yeah. You guys
Look-
want to come in March? We do have
absolutely.
that we're going to be away. John,
I have definitely invited some friends along to this too, and we'll continue
Thank you
to
for
do
that.
so. I think they just haven't.
But don't. It's okay.
It's a holiday.
All I can ask is if you're telling people about it and you're inviting it, that's more than enough.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
You know, how that plays out. You know.
Hey, I'm just
And the
grateful. I'm
video
grateful that you
also.
guys are doing this. So
Yeah.
And as soon
Really
as we're
appreciate
done, it is available forever on YouTube.
Yep.
If you ever want to listen back.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
When are we
have,
coming back from Detroit?
I think on the 20th, March 20th.
Okay.
So,
So
28th perhaps would be a good date.
yeah, do that.
all right, 28th it is.
Yeah, 28th sounds good to me. That's.
All right.
I don't
We
have
just
any-
threw it on everybody because we were like, we got to do the guitar clip. We
Yeah.
don't want to let it slip away.
Yeah.
So we just booked
Yeah.
it.
So
and
what
did
we'll
it.
do is I'll you know, first chance we get, we'll put the new material up to, you know, for us to look at. Maybe I'll putting some warm ups up.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
putting
put the
up
Lydian
that
licks. I'll
sheet
put the
that I
Lydian
just
track up
sent
too.
you.
Perfect.
All right.
So that's what we'll look at next time is the
Yeah.
Lydian mode.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And anything that either of you or anybody that wants to that wants to perform. So that's the other thing too, is think about performing something next time. Anything.
No, actually, I was just thinking that if I know that we're going to work on the Lydian mode, and we've got, what is it, a month until we do the next one?
Yeah.
That's plenty of time to compose something
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and kind of come up with a little minute or two Lydian thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, get my Steve
All right.
Vai hat on, play a little,
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. We'll have to pull out the sitar.
Yeah.
right? What was that email address to shoot you?
JFinn,
What is it?
JFinn, JFINN,
Mhm.
at berkeley.edu.
Got it.
So Berkeley spelled BERKLEE.
I know.
.edu.
Most important. He went there.
Yeah.
I didn't go there. I wish I was good enough to go to Berkeley when I went to college, but I was going to fail that audition. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Although I'll tell you what, I like the that earlier on, Jane brought up pumping iron.
Yep.
I'm sure you're familiar with that, John. There's some
I've
beautiful-
heard of it. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
It's a great
It's it is a great classical guitar book, and Jane, you were talking about the finger exercises. I still
Yeah.
do those, and they kill me. These finger independence, like put all four strings on the G string. Try to just hold down first and fourth fingers, and then independently move the inside fingers to the outside E strings.
Order that book.
These are
I've
more
read pages
they're more
of it.
motion exercises than they are tonal.
I see. Yeah.
But I find like it's easy for me to kind of do these two fingers independently, but it's between these two fingers I have a hard time with the independence. So keeping the first and fourth finger down and independently moving the other two fingers. See what I'm saying?
Somebody told me something that was interesting.
Nate's got it.
Was that this finger and this finger have their own tendons, but these two fingers share a tendon.
These two? Oh, really? Huh.
Why, huh?
I can definitely feel it. Yeah, they want to move
Yeah.
together.
Well, I mean, that makes sense with so many rock players, why they're three-finger players and the pinky never comes into play.
It's kind of along for the ride.
Man, it's
I love my
amazing.
little pinky.
Yeah.
I got really
Right?
tiny little pinkies, but I use them a lot.
It's
Yeah.
amazing the rabbit holes we guitar players will go down talking about the tendons in our hands. And,
Exactly.
and I've actually done that Jeff Beck thing where you tape up the two fingers and you try to do the Django.
Yes.
The Django.
Totally done that. Right on, guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very
Thanks
much.
so much for joining us, guys. And if you're
Thank you.
with us on YouTube, you can find all of the information we went through today, PDFs, MP3s at juliefinn.com.
Yeah.
All
Right
right.
on.
You guys have any
Sounds
questions
good.
before we go? We're all scheduled for next time.
All good.
No.
All right.
Well,
Very cool.
yeah,
Right.
look forward to next time. Take care. Thanks so much.
All right.